which is where we begin in our bulletin. Supporters of suspended African National Congress Secretary General Ace Magashule have described the case against him as a political witch hunt aimed at keeping him out of office. They say the courts are being used to distract him while fighting political battles. Now, meanwhile, inside court, Magashule and 3 others insist that there is no evidence linking them to the 2014 asbestos housing project scandal, and they want the matter to be withdrawn. Let's chat to Samkele Maseko, who's been watching the developments both inside and outside court. Samkele, one of the things that is very clear, these allegations of a political witch hunt are back. We've been hearing them for quite some time now, using words such as the SG is being diverted to come to court instead of doing his day-to-day work. Have they said who's behind this?
In essence, they will never say who is behind such a move, but they will leave it to those within their support base and society to guess and play the political theatrics that it's a war between ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa and the Secretary General of the African National Congress, Ace Magashule, as we've seen derogatory words and derogatory songs and terms being used by those whom support the suspended Secretary General Ace Magashule, who himself further fuels these speculations when he speaks, by instance saying that this past weekend's political gathering of unity of the ANC led by former President Thabo Mbeki was a factional arrangement which left out former President Jacob Gedleyihlekisa Zuma.
Now, Samkele, it's very interesting looking at what is happening inside court as they call for this matter to be withdrawn. At the same time, happening outside court in that briefing that, was quite impromptu outside, I cannot help but talk about the presence as well as some of the remarks that Dakota Lekwete made, being seen publicly and talking about how, he's there to support the SG, and questions being asked about his presence.
Dakota Lekwete has nailed his colors to the mast. In essence, he is with the suspended Secretary General Ace Magashule. It's not the first time he was at this court appearance or to support the former Secretary General Ace Magashule. Even in the first court appearance of the suspended SG, Dakota Lekwete was there. But as time has went on, the numbers have pretty much dwindled. We no longer see the likes of Lindiwe Ntshalintshali, the acting provincial secretary of Mpumalanga, despite her still supporting Ace Magashule. The likes of Msebenzi, the River Zwane, no longer come to court despite him being in the province. We saw him at the Thabo Mbeki Unity gathering. He was there. You've also seen the likes of Paseka Nompondo, the current provincial secretary of the ANC in the province, dubbed part of the Capella Boys. He no longer comes to support the Secretary General, but you've got the likes of Sam Mashinini. Supramoa Mapilo is always here. The likes of Mervyn Dix, he was here today, the suspended ANC Member of Parliament. So the numbers are certainly dwindling, but there are still those who may not have come who still support Ace Magashule, but it also comes at a time when regions of the ANC are holding RGCs, Regional General Councils, and they are making their pronouncements in support of a second term for ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa, despite Ace Magashule saying he's on the ground, he's there province to province, region to region, garnering that support, heading towards the December conference of the African National Congress.
Now, Samkele, talking about the December conference, the Secretary General's office is quite a significant office, particularly when you look at, what needs to happen towards conference. It is this particular office that is going to determine which of the delegates are going to be attending this particular conference. But judging from the weekend reports, it looks like this particular office is finding itself at crisis level, because you've got the suspended SG, you now have the DSG as well, who hasn't been well for quite some time. And we're seeing in the public domain some reports suggesting that Dr. Gwen Ramokgopa may just be put into that particular position. But Dakota Lekwete says that this is not a matter that has yet been finalized.
The SG, Obongi, were just on a point of clarity. The SG and the DSG, they don't decide on which delegates go to conference. Yes, they've got an influence in the terms of the preparations for the conference, in signing off audits for regional conferences, in also clarifying any disputes of branches. It ultimately gets to them after the dispute resolution committees of regions, of provinces. It ultimately, you can appeal to the SGO. So it does have a significant number of influence, but does not specifically choose Samkele Maseko as a delegate to the ANC conference or Msebenzi Zwane, but it's the job of the branches of the ANC, but they do there as an officiating method. But the SGO is in crisis mode. The current acting Secretary General Paul Mashatile has his own functions of being the Treasurer General of the ANC. They are failing to pay their own salaries. So in essence, the ANC is saying he must focus on his own duties, his own perceived failures of not being able to pay salaries which are raised by the ANC's staffers at Luthuli House and various regions. But there is a proposal that Dr. Gwen Ramokgopa must be brought on board to coordinate the SGO's office. But in fact, in Cape Town, at the breakfast of the Treasurer General Paul Mashatile, she was alongside Paul Mashatile at that breakfast station after the State of the Nation address of President Cyril Ramaphosa. Also, Monty Kungubele, the Minister in the Presidency, and also NEC member and deployee to the Western Cape Province, he was also there. And the SANC's constitution is very silent on when the deputy SG are incapacitated, or they are sick, or they are suspended, on what happens to the SGO. There is that vacuum which now the ANC is trying to augment, and some provincial leaders and NEC members are saying, as the ANC goes towards its constitution, going towards its conference, and the constitutional amendments are open, this is one of the matters that the ANC, NEC members and the delegates need to speak on, as the constitution is very quiet on who then comes in to the SGO office when the SG and the DSG are not there, as opposed to the constitution of the ANC, which says when the president is not there, the deputy president takes over, and if the DP is not there, the SG then acts as president of the ANC, which is also subsequent towards the ANC Youth League constitution. So these are the constitutional amendments that the ANC NEC members are trying to bring, but it certainly looks like the RET faction within the NEC, the likes of Takota Likhwete, the likes of Tony Yengeni, will definitely be against Dr. Gwen Ramokgopa going to the SGO office as coordinator of the SGO office. Ace Magashule, the suspended SG, says they are full-time NEC members who are employed by Luthuli House, who are paid by Luthuli House. They should look amongst those 8 ANC people who are employed full-time at Luthuli House, who are NEC members.
All right, and Samkele, in 10 seconds, what can we expect tomorrow? Tomorrow, Ace Magashule's lawyer, Advocate Holtz, will take to the podium, and he will present the counter arguments and the presentations from Ace Magashule's side as to why this court case and this case that has been brought against him should be thrown out, and there should be a permanent stay of prosecution. All right, that's Samkele Maseko. They are senior political reporter, and it's going to be interesting, of course, to see those developments tomorrow as we get then to get a sense of the case and the significance, of course, as they're calling for this particular matter to then be withdrawn. And you can even expect those supporters that came out a little earlier on to still be surrounding the suspended ANC Secretary General when it comes to this particular court matter. That's where we'll